So on here we do some pregnancy stories or birthing stories. So this is a kind of a funny story that I had to tell. Now you have to understand a couple of things. I had a Chinese doctor, and it was my first delivery or first time having a baby. And so here's the story. It's kind of funny. So anyway, I was asleep in bed having this dream about, it was a hurricane that was kind of like a tornado all nestled into one, okay? And then I woke up and I had wet the bed, and I was like, oh my goodness, that's terrible. And so I changed my sheets, and I went to the bathroom and I took a bath and changed my clothes. The problem was that after I did all this, I was still having problems with peeing myself, so I couldn't figure out why. So I thought, well, that's weird. I must have some kind of like a bladder infection or something. I don't know. I just kept peeing myself. I thought that's weird, and so I called my doctor, and instead of, I was telling my doctor that I probably should go to the 7-Eleven and get some cranberry juice or something, because obviously there's something wrong with my kidneys or something. I must have some kind of infection or something, obviously. And that's what I'm thinking. So I called my doctor, and he was Chinese, So he kept telling me to go to the hospital. And I'm like, well, it's like 2 in the morning, and I didn't want to go to the hospital, And so I was like, no, listen, I could just probably go to the 7-Eleven, your thumbs in the way, get some cranberry juice, and then I'd be okay. And he's like, no, let me talk to your mom. So I talked to my mom, but he's Chinese, so I can't really understand a lot of what he's trying to say. Talked to my mom, and she couldn't really understand him. And then he talked to my dad, and she couldn't really understand him. He couldn't understand him. He goes, we kept trying to talk to him about, I should come in the next day and see him. He goes, no. Go to the hospital. And I'm like, well, I didn't want to do that. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, And I'm like, okay, well, listen, I'm just going to go get, some cranberry juice or whatever, and then, I'll see you tomorrow. And he goes, no! And we hung up, The doctor calls me back. He's like, no! Go to hospital! Baby come! And I'm like, baby come? And I looked at my mom and I'm like, oh, this is not a good time. No, I don't think I want to do that right now. It's like 2 o'clock. We're not gonna do that. No, that's not really a good idea. I don't think that's a good idea tonight. I don't think that's a good idea. No, I don't want to do that. I think I should go back to bed. That's what I think. I think we'll just go back to bed and we'll figure this out in the morning. And I'm like, don't worry about it. We'll call you back in the morning. We'll figure it out tomorrow. He goes, no, tomorrow, now, now. And I'm like, Mom, I have some terrible news. This doctor called back and he's insisting that we go to the hospital. And she's like, well, I suppose. So we went to the hospital. We weren't in a good mood. Get there, it's about 2:30, Spent like a half hour trying to talk the doctor out of it. And there was no talking him out of it. So I decided we'd go to the hospital. So we went to the hospital, and my mom was kind of heavy-set. So they put her in the hospital bed because we were at the maternity where you have babies. They put her in the hospital bed, not me. And so I'm sitting in the chair, And I'm thinking, man, this is really, I never had a baby before, so I don't know how it works, but I'm thinking this is really weird. And they hook the monitor up to her and everything, and the nurse comes in and she hooks the monitor up and everything, and then she's like, I'm not sensing a heartbeat. And I looked at her and I go, that's because I'm the one that's having the baby. She's like, oh! I was wondering why they were hooking her up to the monitor. I don't know what's going on. Maybe that's how they do it. I don't know. And because at the time I really didn't know what was up. So, I'm like, okay. So then they hooked me up. Well, we're supposed to get the lovely room on the end. That's where we went into that lovely room. That's what I had, time. I was going to get the big, nice rooms and the really, really, really nice rooms. And so they hooked me up, and she said, we have to do this test thingy to see if your water broke. And I said, okay. So they did that test strip thingy on my, because I kept peeing my pants, and they did it on the liquid that was peeing. And they go, oh, yeah, that's why you're peeing your pants. It's not, it's amniotic fluid. Your water broke. And I'm like, oh, that's what the doctor was trying to tell me. Oh, that's what that doctor was trying to tell me. Oh, okay. That's why he said I had to go to the hospital. So I was like, all right, cool. Well, we were in the room for about 10 minutes, and then they said they had to move me to a different room to monitor me because my water broke. This room was not for people with broken waters. It was, closer to time for the baby. So I was like, okay, so we moved to the other room, and I had brought my pink little radio, and a set of cards and stuff, something to do, while I was there. I wasn't going to just hang out and do nothing. So me and my mom sitting there, and, I'm playing my music, real low, and, we're sitting there playing cards and whatever, and we're playing cards and having a good time, and it comes the next morning, and we're still sitting there playing cards, having a good time. And the nurse comes in and she goes, what are you guys doing? And we're like, we're playing rummy. Should we not be playing rummy? She's like, no, you should not be playing rummy. I'm like, oh, well, I didn't know there was a rule. She's like, you don't understand. There isn't a rule. You're supposed to be in labor. Your water broke. I'm like, okay. Do we tell my body? She's like, maybe it doesn't know. I don't know. I don't know how this works. And she's like, I gotta go get the doctor. I'm like, okay. My mom at this point's like, should we finish the game? I'm like, yeah, why not? Could take her hours to get the doctor. We don't know. We might have room for 2 more games. So they did come in and they decided that they were going to do, give me medicine to make me have labor. So, because obviously my body had no clue that it was supposed to do anything else. It was just there. It wasn't going to do anything else. So they decided that they don't want to deliver the baby. They said you only have a certain window or whatever to 24-hour period. And I was getting up to like 13 hours. And they said that it wasn't safe to deliver the baby after 24 hours or something. It was not safe. I don't know. I don't know the story with that. But anyway, supposedly the amniotic fluid helps a baby be born. Okay, so anyway, this all goes good. Now remembering, you have to remember that I had pneumonia and a thing called strep pneumonia, so I was really sick. So I had pneumonia and I had strep pneumonia, so I was pretty sick. So they didn't really want to do surgery, okay, to have a C-section. Okay, because, they said if I had pneumonia and they did surgery, that I probably wouldn't make it. So that was a bad thing. Okay, so according to what they said. So they did this labor stuff. And at first we played cards through that too, and then after a while I started really getting not feeling well. I mean, I didn't feel well. I felt really, really lethargic and sick, just really sick. And I was throwing up water and I felt really, really sick. And I told him I didn't feel well. Well, the doctor came in and said that the baby's heartbeat was decreased in half, and my heartbeat was decreasing in half, and things were not going well at all. And in fact, they were going anything but well. And I said, well, we're not, you're trying to make my body do stuff that it wasn't really wanting to do, and it's not a good idea. Now, mind you, before this, the doctor had always said that my baby was a boy, okay, and through the ultrasound thing. He had always told me the baby was a boy, so we always called him, my little boy, okay, so because the doctor had said he was a boy. And so he finally said, we're going to need to do surgery. And I'm like, well, you said that was a bad idea, and now you're saying that's what we should do. And he said, well, it's the best thing to do. So I'm like, okay, so he set me up to do surgery. He did the surgery, took the baby out. All is well, or so we think. Now, I know that I was drugged and whatever, and wasn't really coherent. But the nurse comes in to me and said that I had a baby girl. And I said, because she had asked me before, she said, what do you want, a girl or a boy? And I said, I want a girl, but I'm having a boy. And I guess she'd asked the other lady there if she wanted a girl or a boy. And she said she wanted a boy, but she's having a girl. And so when the babies were born about the same time, apparently they switched the bracelets. Because she wanted a girl, I wanted a girl, and she wanted a boy. And I had a boy and she had a girl. And so the baby was delivered, and the doctor came back in, and the woman came in and she said, shall we circumcise your baby? And I'm like, wait a minute. That lady just said I had a girl. Why would you circumcise the baby if it's a little girl? I'm like, no, I don't think we're going to do that, because I don't know what's going on here. And so I called, my doctor came in and I said, what the heck is going on? They're trying to circumcise my little girl? And the doctor's like, no, you had boy. And I'm like, no, they said I had a girl. And I'm like really getting awake now, okay? Because I'm like, wait a minute, what the heck is going on here? And they're like, no, that was a boy. And I'm like, okay, but the baby that they brought in here was obviously not a boy, it was a girl. And it had my bracelet on it. And he's like, no, wrong. And I'm like, okay. So he goes out of the room, and there's a big argument. And I'm sitting there on the bed thinking, my God, this must be some good drugs I'm on, because I don't get any of what the heck is going on here. First it's a girl, then it's a boy. First it has a wee-wee, then it don't have a wee-wee. Then they're going to circumcise it, but then it's a girl. I'm like, is it the drugs? What the hell? It's just weird. I don't know what's going on here. My goodness, it's just terrifying. And I'm like, I've got to wake up and get up out of this bed because this is just, I've got to go figure out what is going on here. And so finally, Dr. Lynn, it was his name, comes back and he says, I straightened it all out. You have a boy. And I'm like, okay, so I definitely have a boy. And he's like, yeah. And he said, now do you want him circumcised? And I'm like, I don't know. I think we should just leave his wee-wee alone. Because, you know, if he has a wee-wee, I think we should leave his wee-wee alone. Because, you know what? 5 minutes ago, he was a girl. I don't think he's going to need that wee-wee in later in life. I really do. Don't think we should mess with it. You know, I'm not even awake yet. And I think we should just leave it alone for right now. Just don't, I'm scared for his wee-wee. And so I finally get back to my room, and they bring the baby in, and I hold the baby, and of course I had to chat, you know. And it was a boy, and I'm like, okay, all's good, it's a boy. And then I'm like thinking, okay, I'm gonna get to go home, but no, I didn't get to go home. They're like, oh, no, because you had surgery and you had pneumonia, and you have to stay 3 days. And I'm like, oh my gosh, seriously, I have to stay 3 days? And they're like, oh yeah. And there was a moment where I got this really bad thing. I had to cough, and then I had to hold my stomach and just cough out this like phlegm or whatever. But other than that, everything went fine. I was fine. The baby was fine. We were all fine. And except for the fact that the next day I didn't get to go home, and they came and got the baby, and they had took it into the nursery, and they said they were taking it for tests or shots or whatever, so, you know, it's tests. And I said, okay. So they took it and the baby in there for tests, and it was about an hour, and they had some company. Well, my mom showed up, and, you know, and they went, where's the baby? And I'm like, I don't know. The nurse came in and said she was taking it for tests. And so I walked in where the nursery was, and the baby's not there. And I'm like, where's my baby? And they're like, well, is he here? And I'm like, no. And they're like, well, I don't know. These are all of the babies that are in the room. There's no other babies here. And I'm like, oh my God. This is terrible. And I'm like, we're going to have to call the cops because that nurse came in my room and got my baby. And the baby's gone. So I ended up calling the cops, and now I'm really suspicious of this hospital. You know, I don't trust them, blah, blah, blah. Because they're saying that there was no Hispanic nurse, and they don't know where the baby is, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And so the cops get there. It's about a half hour later, the cops get there. Now it's about an hour and a half that my baby has been missing. And so the cops get there, and I'm telling them that the baby's not in my room. Some Hispanic nurse came and got her. She's not in the nursery. I don't know what happened to my baby. It's missing. And the hospital's looking everywhere for this baby. And the nurse comes out of a back room somewhere, and she's like, oh, he was downstairs getting the blood test done for his little baby blood test. And they're like, I don't know what was really going on. I mean, they did have me on some weird medication, but that nurse was a little bit fuzzy. And then the other lady, she handed me back my baby, but the other lady that was a nurse there acted kind of fruity. And I asked her why she was acting kind of snooty. You know, kind of snooty. she had a very concerned look on her face, and she looked really snooty. And I asked her what was going on, why she looked snooty, and she goes, well, I'm not trying to be snooty, but I don't know that nurse, and I've never seen her before. And I told the cop, I said, this nurse just told me that she doesn't know that nurse and she's never seen her before. And so I got my baby back. I took it to the room, and I was like, I sat there with my mom, and I'm like, something's not right. Something's just not right. And the cops come back to my room about an hour later, and they're like, there's a baby missing in the hospital. They want to check the band on your baby. And I'm like, no, we found my baby. And they're like, yeah, there's another baby missing. It's a boy. And I'm like, what? And so the nurse was gone, and there was another baby missing. And I thought maybe they took that baby down for blood tests or whatever, and I thought, I think everything's going to be okay. So we just started visiting, and I'm like, it's going to be all right. 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 Because my baby was missing for like an hour and a half, so it's going to be all right. They're just doing some tests. And except I'm looking at my baby, and I pulled the Band-Aid off my baby's foot, and there's no little pokey hole from, needles, as we all well know. They leave a little spot, like kind of like a little ant bite, if you will. And there's no spot on my baby's foot. And I'm really looking at my foot, and I'm pressing his foot. I'm looking at his foot, and I'm like, where the Band-Aid was, and there's no spot on his foot. And I'm like, Mom, we gotta go talk to the cops. And she goes, why? And I'm like, there's no needle mark under the Band-Aid. And she goes, well, why is that a big deal? I'm like, because Mom, they weren't doing blood tests on this baby. So where was this baby for an hour and a half? They didn't take any blood from him. There's no spot under the Band-Aid. So I took the baby back in there and where the doctor was, and I said, listen, you gotta do something. This baby nobody took blood from this baby. And they look at the baby's foot, the doctor looks at the baby's foot, and the cops look at the baby's foot, and they're like, the cop looked at me and looked at him and goes, where's that nurse? And we looked at the other nurse, the one that was kind of snooty, and she looked up the name of the nurse on the computer. And she's like, oh my gosh. And we're like, what? And she's like, it's not here. And I'm like, what do you mean it's not there? She's like, she doesn't work for this hospital. And at that point, I got chills. And I'm like, I'm taking my baby back to my room. I took my baby back to my room. And I sat there and I go, the nurse that had my baby, she's like, my mom's like, yeah. I'm like, doesn't work for this hospital. And the other baby's still missing. I think she gave me back my baby because she was in the other room and she got caught and couldn't get out of here because we called the cops. And I think on her way out, she grabbed another baby and took off. And Mom's like, no. I'm like, I think she did. I think it was, yeah. And I guess it was just a miracle that she didn't get out of the hospital with my baby. but she did get out of the hospital with this other woman's baby. And so I felt really uncomfortable. And I told the doctor that I no longer wanted to be at the hospital with my baby. I no longer felt comfortable there at all. So they decided that they understood, and they moved my room back around the corner. They said I had to stay one more night, a few more hours. So they moved my room back around the other corner, and they said, we'll have an officer out here watching your door, and nobody will come or go. We'll watch all personnel and whatever. And so they did. And the next day, like nobody, even the nurses weren't allowed to go in my room. And the next day, I think it was like 8 o'clock. I was out of there by like 9 o'clock. And they did the paperwork at like 8 o'clock in the morning, and then I was gone by 9. And I left, and my mom would get in the car. It was kind of funny because we get in the car. We're going home from the hospital, you know. And my mom's like, oh, we better get home so you can get in bed and rest. And I was like, what? I've been in prison for like 3 days. I don't want to go home and rest. I got a new baby. I gotta go show him off to everybody, and then I want to go shopping. We got all new stuff we gotta get my Bobby. We gotta take my Bobby shopping, and you know, because back then they were just starting out with that the car seat law. So I had a car seat, you know, but I had got my crib, you know, but the baby was quite a bit smaller than a newborn, and it was like 8 pounds, 7 pounds 15 ounces, but it was smaller than I would thought the baby was going to be. So I had to go back to the store and rebuy smaller clothes to fit him. And so I went shopping and went out to my friend's house and stuff. But it's a great story because of the fact that not only was I not planning to have a C-section, but I also wasn't planning for my son to get stolen and then become a girl, and then a boy, and then a girl, and then a boy. He never did get circumcised. Never did. And I decided not to do that because of the whole girl-boy thing. You know, I just decided no, I wasn't going to do that. Just because, you know, I wanted him to be a boy. You know, if he was going to be a boy, be a boy. If he was going to be a girl, be a girl. You know, either way. But you know, it's not for me to decide. That's God's decision. But you know, it's a wonderful story. Don't you think it's a good story? Weird, huh? Mm-hmm. All of this stuff happened at. It was called. He was born at San Joaquin Hospital, and that's what happened at San Joaquin Hospital, which normally was a good hospital. And, you know, they took care of everything else great, but this particular incident, they did not do well with babies. Okay, that's the end of the story.